Welcome to the Endo Belly Girl podcast. I'm your host, Alyssa Chavez. I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner and restorative wellness practitioner on a mission to change the way that we support women with endometriosis. Endo is a full-body disease that impacts your mind, body, and spirit in countless ways that aren't often addressed the way that women truly deserve. We are here to talk about all of it. Please keep in mind that the content of this show has been created for educational purposes only and should never be used as a replacement for medical diagnosis or treatment. Hey, my friend, and welcome back to the Endo Belly Girl podcast. I have a special guest for you all today. Her name is Tiffany Davis, and she is the founder of Channeling Chi Health and Wellness, which is a practice dedicated to holistic healing and wellness. Now, Tiffany has a really interesting background, which I'll let her share more with you about in a bit, but she actually started off as a registered nurse. She's actually triple board certified and has 18 years of experience and a master's degree in nursing informatics. And now she actually combines her extensive medical expertise with holistic healing practices to help to support overall well-being. And she digs into things like she's a certified Reiki practitioner. She's also a meditation coach and facilitator. She's a functional medicine practitioner and a holistic health and wellness coach. So she uses all kinds of different modalities and really specializes in helping women to navigate menstrual and fertility challenges, and also helps just to support stress and chronic conditions. Now, Tiffany is an endo warrior herself. She was diagnosed back at age 16, so she has had a lifetime of understanding what endometriosis really is and has had quite a journey herself, going from being really immersed in the medical world to digging into all things holistic, learning to support her own body through that. And now she has really dedicated her life to sharing that with so many other people. And through Channeling Chi Health and Wellness, she now empowers others to cultivate joy, abundance, and love, and helps to guide them towards success in every aspect of life, which I think is so beautiful. And I love the way that she just integrates all of her life experiences and all of these different modalities that she's learned. And we had a really fantastic conversation about all things. So if you're really interested, maybe you've tried kind of all the conventional approaches to endometriosis and just haven't really found quite the support and the relief that you need, this episode will be really helpful for you just to hear about some of the other options, some of the other areas that you can explore. And I know Tiffany just has so much to offer, and so I will let her share that with you. So let's let Tiffany take it away. All right. Well, hi, Tiffany. Thank you so much for being here on the podcast today. I'm super excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so glad we were able to make this happen. I know we had connected a little while back and then life happened in between. And so now we're able to sit down and have a little chat, which I always love to do.
Yes.
I would love if we can first just get to know a little bit about you and who you are and kind of what your journey has been, where you've come from. So yeah, go ahead and just share a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, hello everyone. My name is Tiffany. I am the founder of Channeling Chi Health and Wellness. I've been in business for about 3 years now. I've kind of redirected, but my profession is nursing. I am a nurse. I've been a nurse for almost 20 years, 19 years. And so I started my nursing career in 2006, absolutely loved it. But before that, when I was 16, I was actually diagnosed with endometriosis. And so it was when I didn't know I had it at all. One day, excruciating pain, passed out, and then the same day I was having surgery. So my doctor was great because I got a diagnosis right away. I know that is not the case with a lot of our other endo sisters, but was on birth control from the time I was 16 up until early 30s when I got married and then started to try to have a baby. And then I realized the beast that endometriosis really was.
Oh, yeah.
And so after, some fertility challenges, failed IVF, IUI, I really started to look into holistic healing. And so I did a lot of holistic therapies, which I'll get into later. That really gave me my life back. And so when the pandemic came, I actually got COVID really bad. It took me like over a year to recover. And so I used some of the same therapies, and I was just like, this works. So I want to do this for other
Yeah.
people. So that's how my business was birthed, I guess. And now I do functional medicine, I do Reiki, lots of essential oil application, lots of crystal integration,
Mhm.
which I'll get into as well. But in a nutshell, that's me. So I'm a nurse who worked in the system, then became a patient in the system. So I've seen both sides of it. And now I'm on the other side, offering holistic healing. So
Nice. And
in a nutshell, that's me.
I love it. And one of the reasons, I thought it would be great to have a chat with you here is because you do have a perspective from so many different angles. You've worked in healthcare directly, you've been a patient of healthcare, and
Yeah.
you've worked, through all the holistic work, both for yourself and for people you work with as well. So I feel like there's so much to unpack there, and we're gonna definitely dig into all of that today. But I
Okay.
would love if we can start up. We'll kind of go with where you started, like the the origins first. And I would love if you can share a little bit about just your perspective from being a nurse and just what you've seen, what you've experienced about the healthcare system just from being on that side of it and just being so involved in that piece of it.
Sure. So for me, and this is all in retrospect because I didn't realize what I was seeing or what I was learning until after
Yeah.
the fact. So, the healthcare system and the people who are in the healthcare system are totally different.
Sure.
So the people who are in the healthcare system, there are some amazing, amazing providers that are doing amazing work and really are here to help people.
Yeah.
There are some who are not. You've probably encountered some people who are more compassionate than others. I'll
Sure.
leave it there. Um, and then you have the system. The system, I'm going to say this, but the system is trash. It does not work for everyone. It was not made for everyone. I feel like it is incredibly patriarchal, which means it is male
Yeah.
dominated. It is from a male perspective. And so a lot of the issues that we face as women go unnoticed, untrained, and there's not really an emphasis on including these things in training, even though a lot of our reproductive issues are becoming more prominent, more prevalent. I still don't see the connection with teaching these things in medical school and then
Mm.
when they see them. I've experienced, so I worked in the ER for a bit of time, and I've seen women, young women, because I did pediatrics. So I've seen teenagers, young women come into the ER in excruciating pain. I think we
Mm.
all know what that feels like, whether it's endometriosis or just bad, really, really, really bad cramps. And it was dismissed. Well, it's just the cramps.
Sure.
It's only cramps. Why is she here? I've seen some inhumane things
Yeah.
as far as language and perspective towards those who come in with reproductive issues. And I've never said those things. However, I have thought, well, how bad is it? Like you had to come to the ER, like, wow, you must really be in pain. So not necessarily doubting your pain, but just not knowing. Because although I was diagnosed at 16, I was on birth control. And the way that
Right.
I took birth control, I didn't take that last week. So I would just continue. So for a very long time, I didn't have a period. I didn't have symptoms. So
Mm-hmm.
I did not know the beast that endometriosis is. And so I didn't have that perspective while I was working.
Right.
And so that's one of the things that in hindsight, I was just like, oh, we can do a much better job.
Oh, yeah.
Even if it's just, I don't understand what you're going through, but I can sympathize
Mm-hmm.
with what you are going through, especially when nursing, even though there are lots of male nurses, is still a female dominated profession. So I don't understand how there's that lack of compassion. And it really should be empathy because we are all women. We've all had a menstrual cycle. We all know that it can be pretty bad at times. And so that was the thing that really confused me. So as I went through it and then became more of a patient instead of a practitioner in it. That's when I was just like, there's a disconnect here. There's something wrong, and I really want to be a part of the
I
solution.
love
So,
that. So did you
yeah.
experience some of that yourself, coming in and saying, "Hey, I'm in a lot of pain," and kind of having to navigate that and not being listened to? Did you experience some of that then from the other side?
Yep.
Yeah.
The dismissal, the I didn't necessarily get it's all in your head, but I did get, oh, anxiety can cause this
Mm,
or whatever the case may. I have gotten that a lot. Or just, drug seeking.
sure.
We do the best with what we can with over the counter, and when that does not work, then we have to go and get something which we think is stronger, or something that will help us, which is usually the hospital, the ER,
Mm,
whether it's your doctor or anything like that. And when the dismissal comes, it's a blow. It's not only devastating, but it's also insulting. It's hurtful. And so taking all of those things and all of those experiences into account, that also made me a better practitioner in while I was in healthcare, as well as now being more of a business owner on the other side of it.
yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
I think that's a story I hear all the time. I know I had similar situations happen as well, and I hear that from so many people. And I think
Mhm.
unfortunately that really is a big part of why it can be so challenging for women to get a diagnosis. I
Absolutely.
mean, like you said, you were fortunate that
Absolutely.
you ended up being diagnosed very young. You must have run
Right.
into a doctor who really was thorough and
She was
did all the
amazing.
things, which is
Hmm.
wonderful. And then, like you said, there are some wonderful practitioners out there who are doing that, but there also also are a lot of women who are just not being listened to, and yeah, that's I think one of the big challenges that we face with endometriosis. Besides the what do we do about it once you know you have it? It's like,
Right.
do I even have clients who are like, I actually don't even know if I have endometriosis, but I sure have
Right.
really painful periods. So can you help me? And
Mhm.
I'm I'm certainly not going to turn someone away just because they don't have a diagnosis. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
And then you have the diagnosis, the only way to definitively diagnose it is with surgery.
right.
So there are so many barriers to that in general. A lot of times insurance doesn't want to cover
Yeah.
it if you don't have enough reason to warrant that. So even being able to get a diagnosis can be it could be such a road trip, and it could be just such a headache that a lot of people just give up. And that's the part that's really sad to me, when
Hmm.
we live in a country that has amazing, amazing healthcare and has amazing practitioners. There's still a gap.
Yeah.
There are still barriers that people face. So,
Yeah. And I think you and I kind of
mhm.
went similar routes where it's like, okay, we're not quite getting the answers that we need through the traditional medical system. So let's see what else is out there and kind of exploring other avenues. And I know when we last
Mhm.
talked, we were kind of digging into all the things because there's so much. I mean, on this
Right.
podcast, we've talked a lot about all the nutrition and gut health and all the avenues to help to support. But I know
Mhm.
you really like to dig into a lot of some of the stuff you mentioned, right? Doing like the crystals and the essential oils, and we're definitely going to talk about that as well because I know you know a lot more about those topics than I do. But I would love first we were having a chat about just how stress really impacts your body with endometriosis. And, I think you were saying earlier how sometimes that can become a little bit of a challenge in the traditional healthcare system where it's like, oh, well, you just need to go take a chill pill and you'll be fine. And we know there's more to it than that. It's not as simple as, you just need to like take a hot
Right.
bath and de-stress for a day and then all your problems will go away. But there is also the reality of stress does impact our physical bodies. And I think we've all felt that at some point or another. It's
Absolutely.
like
Mhm.
you're really stressed about work, and next thing you know, you have a massive headache or a stomach ache, or like something pops up in your body. I know that I've had
Mhm.
experiences like that. And so I would love if you can speak a little bit about that, just how stress really does impact your body and what that connection is between stress and endometriosis.
Sure. So for me, in my studies and my experience, Stress is inflammation. So stress causes inflammation. I don't care what the source is, whether it's good stress, which would be like a wedding or having a baby, or, negative stress, whether it's, a death in the family or, financial issues, relationship issues, whatever the case may be, stress is stress. And there's acute and then there's long term. So, the short term stress and then the chronic stress, which lasts over a longer period of time. It's all due to inflammation. And what inflammation does is release the stress hormone cortisol. So cortisol, it interferes with the way that estrogen and progesterone operate in our body. And we know that our cycles, estrogen, progesterone, our cycles are hormones fluctuating. That is what the female reproductive cycle is. So if stress interferes with that, now you're having either shorter periods or longer periods, or you're bleeding in between, or you're having a lot of other pain. If you have a chronic condition like endometriosis or even fibroids or adenomyosis, with endo, it increases the pain that you may be feeling. It can also, it's also believed that the lesions are increased. So wherever your lesions are with endometriosis, you get more of those and it becomes more severe. Fibroid growth, development. So if you already have fibroids, it can make them bigger. If you don't have fibroids, it can actually lead to the production of, not production, but like it can actually lead to you having fibroids. So it's really, really important. And I think that's a link that most people don't connect, because I knew it was a link, but I didn't exactly know how. And there was actually a study published in the Reproductive Health Journal in 2020 that made the correlation. They didn't do adeno, but they did say find a correlation between increased stress and increased severity of endometriosis and fibroids. So they basically did the research to tell us, well, we already knew in our heart of hearts because we go through it. So now we have the research to back up our experiences, which is really what you need in order to get more funding for research, to get more coverage for not just things from the traditional sense, which would be surgery and medications, but also other modalities. And I won't say those because we'll go over those, but
Yeah.
more holistic modalities as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's so fascinating, and I love that they're actually starting to study things like that, because I feel like that's been something that I at least I can only speak for myself, but I feel like it's something I've always kind of known it instinctually, that just when I'm stressed, I don't feel good. And that's kind of
Right,
a
right.
general sense of it. But, I love what you're saying about the acute versus chronic stress. And I think that's something that's becoming more and more of a thing in this day and age, just that chronic underlying stress that just never really fully goes away.
I think post-pandemic, we will continue to see an emphasis and just the realization that stress is really one of those silent killers. We
Yeah.
knew it before, but the link between stress and everything else, because COVID, everybody was stressed.
Yeah.
The whole world changed after COVID. So I don't really know anyone that went through that and had no stress at
Oh,
all.
sure.
So, and then when you think about endometriosis, it's an inflammatory disorder. So it's inflammation. And so when you have those, stress can also, that can lead to other inflammatory conditions. So rheumatoid arthritis or, anything with your gut. So that could be Crohn's, it could be anything like that. So you just never know. And also I wanted to mention that stress, if you're ever stressed and you don't feel like eating, or you get constipated, or you get diarrhea. So that means that stress has manifested itself in your gut. And what lives in your gut? Your entire immune system.
Yep.
So now, even if you don't have any pain, now you've opened yourself up to take on other illnesses that you normally wouldn't, because now your immune system is I should say challenged. Your immune
Sure.
system has been challenged. So yeah, those are the direct links. There's so many more, but specifically for us Endo girls and anyone that has dealt with a female reproductive issue, it's really the same thing. Like they're different, but I advocate for
Hmm.
everyone because we're all the same.
Yeah.
So whether it's adenofibroids, infertility, whatever the case may be, we are all in this fight together. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. Agree with that.
Yeah.
So if somebody's listening to this and they're going, "Oh, well, I totally get that and I see the connection between stress and, endo and the symptoms that I'm experiencing and everything." But I feel like the issue that a lot of people run into with that is like, okay, well, I'm stressed. What do I do about that? Because like I think for most people, just like I'm just gonna, quit my job and go live in a cave by myself is probably not a viable option, right? It
Right.
sounds lovely sometimes, but
Right.
so for somebody who is maybe just under that chronic stress and is feeling that and knows that that's impacting their body, what are some of the things that you would recommend to help to support your body, either to just manage the stress or help to maybe get rid of some of the stress you have going on in your life? What are some of the recommendations that you would make for that?
Sure. So I want to point out that the goal, especially with holistic medicine, is slow and steady wins the race. So it's the long
Mm-hmm.
game. It's not really, let's make a quick fix. Of course, if it's something excruciating, limiting you from doing the things you do, of course, we want a quicker fix for that. But as far as like a long-term plan, and we're talking about longevity and just long-term healing, you want to think about the long game. So it may take you a little bit longer to see the effect, not necessarily the effects, but the long-term effects. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
like you take Advil and you have a headache and it immediately goes away. Yes,
Sure.
essential oils can do that, but we want to know, why are you having the headache? Because
Mm-hmm.
that is the root cause of it. And if we can figure that out, then you may not have the headache to begin with. So that's the first thing when you think about holistic therapies. The other thing is, so I know firsthand that acupuncture is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Acupuncture works. I got my life back with acupuncture, and I coupled my acupuncture with Chinese herbal medicine. Now,
Mm.
there are a lot of things that you can research online as far as herbs to use and everything, but I encourage you to work with a practitioner first. And
Yeah.
then once you start seeing those results, you'll be able to take on some of those things and start playing more of a role in your own healing. And I like to give people that control because it
Yeah.
makes you feel like you're doing something for yourself. Whereas before, especially in the traditional sense, with traditional healthcare, you may feel powerless. So
Right.
my thing is to give you your power back. So some of those things, acupuncture, Chinese herbal medicine, pelvic floor therapy, and
Mm-hmm.
I've done all of those. So essential oils, I like to work with essential oils. And so some of my favorites, especially for, reproductive, is use clary sage. It's really good. I love frankincense and myrrh. They're really good. And castor oil packs.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening and have a lady in your life, castor oil packs are amazing. And I do that, and you can mix those with mix the essential oils in with the castor oil, because that could be your carrier oil, and just put it right there in a heating pad.
Mm-hmm.
Relief. I am holistic, but I also don't advocate for people being in pain. So if you need to take an over the counter or whatever the case may be and couple it with the holistic, then do whatever works for you. Crystals. I love to work with rose quartz. That's really good for anything reproductive. Rose quartz, you can wear it. You can just hold it. Rose quartz, hematite. Hematite is good for like the emotional. And also, it's really good for balancing your blood. So when you are menstruating, the hematite can help balance that as well. Clear quartz, that's a master healer. So you can just kind of set your intentions with that. I love. Also, I forgot lavender essential oil, just for that
Mm-hmm.
calming.
Yeah.
Lavender. You can diffuse the oils. So if you're in a space, whether you're at work or at home, you can diffuse the oils. That works too. So inhaling them, applying them directly to the skin, all of those things work. Also, yoga,
Mm-hmm.
meditation, and just moving, being outside, doing the things that you love. So if you like to go out with your friends, if you like to have a glass of wine, if you do the things that you love, because those are going to release those happy, happy, happy
Mm-hmm.
hormones, those endorphins, and that's going to help counteract the stress. And if it's time is an issue, I know lots of people are very busy, so sometimes you just don't have the time. Take 30 seconds before you get out of your car, before you get out of the shower, while you're in the shower, do some breathing, do some
Mhm.
box breathing, some 4-7-8 breathing to just reset your nervous system. And your nervous system is really where your stress plays a role. It increases your heart rate, your blood pressure, all of those things. So if you can kind of bring those down, you can help. If you've ever taken a deep breath or even just a series of deep breathing, you know how much better you feel after that. So just imagine doing that a few times throughout the day. Even if you don't have 20 or 30 minutes to walk
Yeah.
or, meet up with friends, there are things that you can do and just really make it work for you. There's no cookie cutter remedy to things. Whatever
Yeah.
works for you may work for someone else. It may not, but if it works for you, use it, do it.
Yeah. I love that. I like the way you describe that too, of just, people think that, oh, you need to just be able to take an hour out of your day and, have this whole routine for yourself. If you can do that, awesome. And maybe there are certain times, maybe on the weekend, you have a little more time to carve out to do things like that. But I love that concept of just take 30 seconds and take a deep breath.
Yeah.
You did mention a particular breath pattern in there, that 4-7-8. Can you describe that for us, what that looks like?
Sure, sure. With breathing, so you breathe in for 4 breaths and then you hold it for 7 breaths and then you exhale for 8. So that's 4-7-8. It's kind of like box breathing. It's a little bit more relaxing in the box breathing so that you breathe in for 4, hold it for 4, breathe out for 4. That's more of a like reset that nervous system. So all of those breathing techniques can just help regulate. And a lot of these things are they're older. They're like ancient,
Yeah.
traditional. This is what I call traditional medicine. And we just don't use that anymore because we rely so heavily on the healthcare system that we have. But it's really just getting back to basics for me because
Yeah.
this is where it all started. These are modalities that were used long before we had the invention of, a lot of the innovation that we have with technology now. So
Yeah.
yeah. And it's
I love
easily
that.
accessible.
Yeah.
Very few barriers. Everybody can breathe.
Right.
So,
Yeah, you don't
so,
need any equipment. You don't have to spend any
right,
money.
right.
Nothing special. Just breathe in, breathe
Yes,
out.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm a big advocate for that. And I like to the way you're talking about just it's kind of the idea you need to walk before you run, right? We're all looking for these fancy solutions, whether it's a new medication or a, you know, line of supplements or, we're all looking for these. And sometimes all of that is warranted. I think there's a time and a place for everything. Absolutely. But you know, I think before you dig into any of that, are you breathing? And it may sound overly simplistic. It's not like, okay, taking one deep breath is going to solve all your problems, but try it right now, right? You're listening to this podcast. Can you
Absolutely.
pause it for 30 seconds and just take a couple of those deep breaths and just notice the difference in how you feel, even with something as simple as that.
And even to add to that, I read a post a while ago, like stop and think about what you're doing right now. Unclench your jaw.
Yes.
Take the tension on your shoulders because
Mhm.
I would notice that I am so tense. Just relax. And just to
Mhm.
be able to do that,
Absolutely.
it makes a world of difference. So that's something that I had to learn to, okay, unclench your jaw. Is your jaw clenched? Are your shoulders tense? Are you carrying it in your gut? Stress manifests in my womb. I already know
Oh,
it's the more I'm
sure.
stressed, I already know the things that can come along with it.
Yeah.
And so I think it's one of those things you touch a hot stove and it's hot and you burn yourself and you kind of know, all right, I don't want to do that anymore. So once you find what works, you're kind of like, okay, well, even though, you may fall off the wagon, look, I've fallen off the wagon many times, but as long as you have a routine that you can jump back into, that's the
Hmm.
important part.
Yeah.
Life
Yeah.
happens. So
It does.
life. So
It does. Yeah. And there's at the end of the day, we're all going to experience stress. And, you may be listening to this and be like, well, I do have a job that's stressful, or I do have, certain things going on in my life right now that are stressful. And well, great. Does that mean I can just never be healthy? It was like, well, it's okay.
absolutely
You just
not.
have to have the tools to be able to support your body with all of that.
Absolutely.
And one thing that I have really found just from my own experience, and I know this is something that has been shown through studies and just anecdotal stories as well of just we really send signals to our bodies by what we do, what we think, all the things, because that's how our body knows what's going on. We get feedback through all of the different senses,
Mhm.
and that's what communicates with your nervous system, and that's what communicates with every cell in your body.
Mhm.
And just, taking that moment to take a deep breath or maybe meditate for a few minutes or take a walk or, somehow kind of bring yourself out of whatever you're feeling in the moment. I think just that can really help to send those signals to your nervous system that it's okay to calm down, to settle down a little bit.
Yeah,
I mean, this is something that I even really talk to with people who are having digestive concerns, for example,
absolutely.
because, we so many of us, and I know I was very much guilty of this, is that we eat really rushed and we're like just
Mm.
wolfing something
Yeah,
down on the run and not really allowing space for that. Just using eating as an example, but that can apply to really anything that we're doing throughout our day.
sure.
And one of the things that I always remind people of is like, okay, actually sit down. Take like 3 deep breaths before you start to eat. One thing that I've been saying recently and have been practicing for myself too is like actually feel your belly relax before you eat. Like I mean, how often are we kind of just clenching your gut? And then
Mhm.
you're expecting everything to go well when you're trying to digest it. Like you said, let your
Right.
shoulders relax, let your jaw relax, just those simple
Mhm.
little things. And then all of a sudden, now your body is receiving these signals that it's okay to take a moment to rest, that it's okay to now, prioritize your digestion. It's okay to now prioritize your body's healing instead of just feeling like it has to be in this chronic fight or flight response. So I know that's something that I've
Absolutely.
found to be really powerful.
And to add to that, so like I do functional medicine, I do Reiki,
Yeah.
health coaching, all of that good stuff. And what I try to tell people is if you have a moment, allow yourself to have that moment because sometimes there's a lesson in that moment. Sometimes you need that moment. So allow yourself to have it, but just don't allow yourself to stay there.
Mm,
So I feel like when we are in those moments, they are important for us to know it and to feel it and to, sometimes we don't have a reason. We don't know what the reason is. And sometimes we do. So it's okay to not be okay.
yeah.
What I get concerned about is when people are not okay and then they sit in that for
Yeah.
much longer than they need to. So have your moment, allow yourself to have it, and then say, okay, you know what? Let's move from here. So it's about mindset, really.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
Totally. My mindset is huge for sure.
Yeah,
It's something I feel like I'm learning more and more every day as I go
absolutely.
through life, but I love that. And I love that you've kind of been discovering all these different tools that you're using for yourself and
Absolutely.
for everybody who you work with and come in contact with. I
Mhm.
I would love to even hear a little bit more about just kind of how you blend all that together, even, for yourself or, if you were working with somebody who's struggling with endometriosis and all that comes along with that. Because you've mentioned a lot of things, the Reiki, the functional medicine, the crystals, the oils. It's there's a lot of different modalities, which I think is beautiful because the more ways that we can support our bodies through all of this, the better. But I would love to hear how that kind of looks for you, like how you blend all that together to support yourself.
Sure. So if I had someone to come to me with endo and they, really want to help to balance things, I would start with looking at their lab work. So I would start at that functional medicine aspect of it to say, okay, we know you have, endo. Let's see where your inflammation is because just from simple blood work, you can tell a lot about inflammation. You can tell a lot about the start of or the presence of other diagnoses. So
Mm,
you can tell that just from simple blood work, nothing extensive. And so I would start there because my goal is to not only help you with your emotional, mental, spiritual, but also your physical as well, because it's
yeah,
all linked together. So that would take
totally.
care of the physical piece. And we talk about some diet modifications and we go over things like that. And then with the Reiki, we talk about stressors and, what's stressing you seen and unseen. I could assess your mindset. So with Reiki, we're really just bringing the body back into balance. We're, addressing the chakras, and I'm giving you tips. Like, I'll tell you what I find. I'll give you tips, foods to eat, colors to wear, crystals, any of that, whether it's mudras, the different hand positions, any of those I would add in. And then the other physical part of it, are you doing castor oil packs? Let's add in these herbs. Let's add in these essential oils. Let's add in these crystals, because with Reiki, I also do the crystal therapy as well. And so
Mm.
I'm giving you tools. So at the end of a Reiki session, I'm giving you the tools. Here's what I found. Let's work on these, and then we'll reassess next time. With the functional medicine, here's what I found. Discuss these with your specialist. Here's what I can do for you on my end.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really just working to make sure that I hit all of those areas, the emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical, so that I'm not just dealing in one, expecting you to see large improvement, but I haven't even addressed any of the other things. Because if I'm addressing your physical, am I addressing what causes the stress that's leading to your physical anyway? So I just
Yeah.
feel like that's wasted time in a sense.
Sure.
Time and effort, and wasted time and effort. So that's why I like to make sure that I do a very comprehensive approach. So that's
Yeah.
approaching everything using all of the modalities that I need. And I also refer out, because if it's something that you need that I don't provide, I am more than happy to make a referral to any of the practitioners that I know of. And so I've
Yeah.
been doing this a while. I've been in this space a while, so I've become very familiar with so many amazing practitioners that are doing amazing work. And so I make referrals often. So,
Nice.
mhm.
Yeah. Because there's so many areas that can help to support Endo Warrior. So yeah, I will totally do the same if, maybe you need to try some pelvic floor therapy like you had mentioned earlier, or, even just getting a good deep tissue massage can be really
Gosh, yep,
powerful, or
absolutely.
acupuncture. I mean, there's so many different modalities. And oh
Reflexology.
yeah.
I can do ear seeding, which is almost like
Mm,
acupuncture in the ear. I can also do so, like, just using everything, because my goal is, how can I make you feel here? If you come in here, I want to get you beyond where you want to be. I want to exceed your expectations of what you could
yeah.
feel like, because once you see the difference, once you feel the difference, that encourages you even more to stick to it.
Yeah, yeah. Love
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I feel like we've covered so much today, so many
This was
different things to
good. This was
explore,
so
and
good. Thank
yeah, I
you.
love it. Is there anything else we missed today that you feel like you'd love to share?
No, I think people got a really good glimpse. And I know you have like my links and everything. If
Mm-hmm.
anybody wanted to get in contact with me, you can DM me on Instagram, Facebook. You can send me an email. DM is probably the fastest. I
Okay.
respond the fastest, but either way, if you want to get in touch with me, my website is there so you can see all of the different services that I offer. Or if you just have a general question, or you just want to say hello, need encouragement, whatever it is, I'm here. So,
I love that. Yeah, and I will link to all of that in the show notes, all of the places to find Tiffany. So you can connect with her, go and say hi, and hear about everything that she has to offer. So yeah, you'll find all those links in the show notes.
yay. I look forward to it. And thank you so much for what you do. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, happy
Good.
endometriosis awareness month. We are on the
Yes.
cusp. That's
We
why
are.
that's why I have my
Yeah,
yellow
so we're
glasses. So
yeah,
yes.
I love that. Yeah. Since you can't see Tiffany if you're hearing the recording, she's wearing these beautiful yellow glasses, and I love that. That's so fitting. And
Thank you.
actually we're recording this episode at the end of February, but it will be coming out in March. So we will
Yeah.
be
Few
right in the
days.
thick of Endo Awareness Month. So I
Yay.
love that we're spreading more ways to support Endo Warriors. I think that that's super important. So thank
Absolutely.
you so much for being here today and being a
Thank you
part of
for
it.
having me. Thank you for
Of
having me.
course. All right. Well, have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me today, my friend. If you loved what you heard, be sure to share with a friend and subscribe so that you can keep coming back for more. If you are ready to take the next step towards getting to the root cause of your endo symptoms like endo belly, pain, fatigue, and so much more, you need to download my free ultimate guide to building your own endometriosis diet. You can find the link in the show notes or at www.endobellygirl.com. Until next time, my friend.